The CDU does not currently find a governing majority in the state of Thuringia due to its firewall in the region. And that is why Ramelow is now indeed proposing a socialist alliance of red with BSW as the currently proposed minister president. Well, that would really be the ultimate disaster and the complete end for Thuringia. Let's take a look at this alarming news. Here we go. 4 days ago, a new state parliament was elected in Thuringia. And in fact, the voters clearly chose a conservative government with AFD and CDU. However, since the CDU and Mario Vogt are simply too rigid and cling to their impaired Brandenauer, a super disaster could now occur in Thuringia. Because the leftist Minister President Ramelow has now seriously proposed the impossible. A socialist alliance of red with BSW as the Minister President and the tolerance of the CDU. And, wow. So, while the left under Ramelow has no problem with the splintered BSW, is the CDU really continuing to block everything that stands to its right? And now possibly with catastrophic consequences. Apollo News. Red Ramelow, the well-known politician, brings BSW top candidate Katja Wolf into play as minister president. The Alliance Sarah Wagenknecht has entered the parliament in Thuringia with 15.8% from a standing start. This election result is historic. Even the AfD only achieved 11% in its first participation in a state election in 2014. That BSW could actually move into the Erfurt State Chancellery was undoubtedly previously considered to be far-fetched. Now, the likely outgoing Minister President Bodo Ramelow suddenly brings exactly that into play. In a talk format Spitzengespräch bei der Spiegel, SPD, Left and BSDW together form red. Ramelow now considers this formation as a minority condition to be conceivable. And the CDU tolerates this in order to adhere to its resolution. Indeed, Ramelow continued, the union could thus indeed avoid intense internal debates. After all, the CDU had practiced exactly this model exactly 5 years ago. Wow, when I read that, I was honestly and truly, absolutely, quite honestly, really taken aback. Especially because I can absolutely understand Ramelow's argumentation very well, and clearly without any doubt. I mean, the CDU is currently facing the huge dilemma that it is losing face because of the results of the Thuringia election. It cannot form a pact with the left because it has a firewall against the left. But it also cannot form a pact with the right because it has a firewall against the AfD. And if the CDU were to indeed tear down just one of the two firewalls and leave the other standing, it would be the absolute death sentence for the CDU. It would indeed completely tear the CDU apart, as many voters would then switch to the other camp significantly, with catastrophic consequences both for the Brandenburg election in 2 weeks, but above all for the federal election next year. Indeed. And that is indeed exactly why Bodo Ramelow is now proposing this very important and necessary saving compromise. If the CDU tolerates a red alliance as a minority government, then the CDU would not have to tear down its firewall and could hold out until the federal elections. Furthermore, Ramelow argues that this very approach was indeed also exactly taken in Thuringia 5 years ago. Back then, during the great election of shame, you might remember 2019 in Thuringia, the election where a man from the FDP first became minister president, and then the election was personally reversed by Angela Merkel because the AfD man came to office, among other things, with votes from the AfD. In the end, the CDU under Angela Merkel made the compromise that the leftist Ramelow would become minister president, just to completely slow down the AfD and not receive any votes from them. The CDU has accepted the left party because of the firewall against the right. And that is exactly what Ramelow is proposing again now. A leftist compromise so that the AFD is perhaps left out and the CDU saves face. Apollo continues to write on the question of whether Ramelow would want to remain minister-president in such a coalition, stating clearly that it would be an interesting story. In that case, I would just have to stay true to 2001 and say that the minister-president will be Katja Wolf. Until now, it was more or less assumed that Mario Vogt from the CDU would become the new minister-president of Thuringia. Vogt indeed achieved the second worst result in the party's history with 23.6%, but clearly articulated a clear claim to power. He describes his party, the strongest leader of the Democratic Center. Both Bodo Ramelow and Katja Wolf have stated in unison that they see the mandate for forming a government with Mario Vogt. In the CDU, there are open concerns about cooperation with the left as well as with BSW and other similar groups. Party leader Friedrich Merz stated that the party Congress resolution remains in effect. Furthermore, 40 party members are now publicly demanding to exclude any cooperation with BSW. So, what is currently happening in the German state of Thuringia is something that you really just absolutely can't make up. If this red scenario currently seems unrealistic and is a fantasy ghost of Ramelow, it could indeed still become true under certain circumstances. Especially if the rebellion within the CDU against the alliance with Sarah Wagenknecht grows even larger and there is really a resolution of incompatibility. And I mean, indeed, in light of the recent Thuringia election, which has been reversed, it seems that anything is possible in Germany now. Until 2019, no one in Germany would have thought that it was possible to simply and easily reverse unwanted and undesired election results in Germany. But then Thuringia 2019 came and possibly, just possibly, Thuringia 2024 will lead to the next drastic outburst. And because, as I said, the CDU is now completely ideologically blinded by its indeed ineffective firewalls, we could potentially really see the truly red super disaster. But watch out, if Ramelow makes such an extreme proposal now, then I will also make an extreme proposal. I mean, if the CDU is now afraid of tearing down a firewall and leaving the other one standing, making themselves look ridiculous, then it would be a way out to simply tear down both firewalls at the same time and never set up firewalls again. So basically, an alliance of AFD plus CDU plus the left. I believe that would then be morally in the same category as red. Or an even better suggestion, the CDU should finally stop this whole kindergarten and respect the wishes of the German people. And the German people clearly say here, indeed, AfD plus CDU, because one thing I can definitely promise you, if for any reason red really comes to power, then things will absolutely really get wild in Thuringia. And then the farmers' protests this year were a child's birthday party in comparison. Feel free to write in the comments what you think of red 2001.